Hi everyone, today we're going to have a look at how the right arm works in the golf swing. So I've said in previous videos that we want to always start with the right arm slightly bent with a little bit of bend in the right wrist. That's going to help us get the right arm started right on the backswing. So the first move you want to have on the backswing is just the right arm folding this way. So the upper arm staying on the body, elbow staying in front of the body, and just bending at the elbow this way. So it's a little bit of wrist action, a little bit of elbow, and that's the first move. So it's really not a lot of body motion, and the right arm's just folding this way. From that point, now we want to get the club going up, so it's going to lift up a little bit, and the right elbow is going to work away a bit from the body. This is to keep the radius of the swing, and the elbow is going to point down. So from the back angle it's going to look this way. That's the folding of the arm on the first move. Then I'm lifting the club up, elbow's pointing down this way, and it's a little bit away from the body. So it really doesn't move a lot. That elbow starts here in front of the right hip, stays in that position on that first move, and then it's just moving just a little bit up this way. So I always want to have the elbow in that position there, and then from this position the elbow can then just fit right back in front of the right hip, come back around into impact, still with a little bit of bend in the arm and in the wrist. So once more from the front angle, you want that right arm folding that way. That's my first move. Now as I start to work the club up, the arm works a little bit away, but the elbow's pointing down. And I think the other important thing is that it's not just pointing down, it's also out in front of my body. It's not getting too far behind. So that's my position there at the top. And now I've got plenty of room just to let this drop back down in front of my right hip this way. So that when I come into impact, I've still got a bit of bend in the right arm and the right wrist, so I'm getting that pressure on the ball. So probably the two big areas we see with the right arm is, number one, in the first move, the right arm, first of all it begins too straight, too dominant this way, and then it works away from the body like this. There's a big gap in here. And what that's going to do is get the shoulders working too much down, so getting too much tilt of the shoulders, which just means I'm going to have to correct and get a lot of tilt when I come back through. So this is making the radius too wide, shoulders too steep, and then I'm having to narrow it on the way down and recorrect the shoulders. So we want to be able to just let that fold that way. Second mistake we see is with the right arm, when the right arm's folding, but it's folding it back in behind the body this way. So if I get the arm too far behind me this way, it's going to make the shaft too steep. And I've really got no room, or it's going to be much harder for me to get that right elbow in front of my right hip coming down. So if we look at the right move, we fold the right arm, lift it up with the elbow pointing down, you can see the shaft points back this way on the right plane behind me that way. So any sort of movement or any big separation of the elbows, it's going to get the shaft looking too steep, and the right arm's just way too far behind the body. So I think a really good way to learn this or practice this is just with the right arm only. So I've got my right hand on the club, down the grip, I've got my bend in the right wrist, I've got my bend in the right elbow. I'm just going to start with the club a little bit above the ground, hold my right elbow with my left hand, and just let it fold that way. That's a good way just to learn that first move. So it's got to be quite relaxed. I'm just letting it swing from the right wrist and right elbow, the club. And from that point I can take my left arm off, just lift it up a little bit. So I'm always feeling the elbows out in front of my body, pointing down, clubs back behind me. And then from there I just let the right arm or the right elbow drop in front of the right hip. So I'm not clearing too much, I'm just letting this arm drop back down. Then I'm coming back into impact. So I've got plenty of bend still here and here, and that's me hitting against the wall, creating pressure on the ball. From the back, again, starting with the club a bit up in the air, holding the right elbow with my left hand, that's the folding of the elbow, just staying in front of my body. Then from there it's the lifting up, so the elbow's moving up here, but staying out in front of me, clubs tilted back behind me. Now when I come back down, I just let that drop, so again back in front of the body, come back, rotate now into impact. I've got some bend in my right arm, bend in my right wrist, and I'm really hitting against the wall or trapping the ball. So we want to get that fold, lift with the elbow in front, pointing down, dropping in front of the right hip, hitting against the wall.